Hello and welcome to the Cyber1 YouTube channel. My name is Ray and today we're going to make a network cable to go from this 7-inch touchscreen Raspberry Pi for Fred the robot. So this has a 10100 connection on the back and we'll be using that to connect to a network switch which we've previously installed in the back of Fred. So for that we're going to use this bit of network cable and some network plugs. So let's get started. Now this cable doesn't have to be overly long. I think that will be plenty. That gives me room to get it in and out, as in remove this out and have room to unplug it. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is make up a connection for power. So this is going to get 5.1 volt of power from a small 3 amp switch mode power supply that will be taking the 20 volt that we use everywhere else on the robot down to the 5.1 volt, add up to 3 amps, and that will power this. And I'll also use it to power the network switch. So for that we will need some wire, and I have some nice red and black wire here that I'm going to use for the main computer power, I suppose you would call it. And we'll put some plugs on to plug onto here and onto down the bottom. Here is the power for the touchscreen itself. So let's get the parts and make that up. So the way I'm going to tackle this is actually to make up 2 leads and join them to another pair or another lead that travels off to where our switch mode power supply will be. There I'll also need to join another cable to power the network switch, which is only a small one. Let's get started on this. Okay, so this is the lead I'm going to use to power the small network switch. It's a 5 volt and is powered by a micro USB slot. Okay, so the white and green wires are the data, and we won't be using those in this case. We're only needing to power it. And so I have a couple of options with keeping these wires together. One is to use a spiral wrap or something similar, or I can use tape and tape it on. So I think I've got a little bit of spiral wrap or a split wrap that I can put onto that, so I might just grab some and use it. Okay, so that's our cable made up. This end will get soldered into our switch mode power supply. I think the next thing I need to do is get the switch mode power supply, give it some power, adjust the output voltage so that it is 5.1 volts, and then I can solder these wires onto it. Okay, so this is the switch mode power supply. It's an AT30 buck boost module. Now this will take between 4 and 30 volts DC in on these terminals and give me an output here that's adjustable between, I think it's about 2 volts and 28 volts or thereabouts. We're targeting 5.1 volts. So to hook that up, I need to attach some wires to the end here. Now, the wires coming down from the head-on thread for the servos were in brown and blue, which I have. But I want to separate the Raspberry Pi's power as different wire colours to the servo power. And the method, my madness there, is to make sure I don't accidentally turn off the Raspberry Pi power when I'm isolating the servos. So for that reason I'm going to go with green and orange. I'll use the green wire as the ground and the orange as the 20 volt supply. Okay, I've got 4.8 volts supplying this. So let's see what we've got coming out. The output terminals, negative here and positive here. I've got 12 volts coming out. which is a little bit on the high side. What I need is a small flat blade screwdriver. That's why you should always check and set your voltage before you connect it to your Raspberry Pi. I'm pretty sure 12 volt going into the Raspberry Pi would not be too good. But that should be close enough. By the time you include all of the resistance in the wire, I think that'll be close enough. The biggest issue is there's no load on that, so it makes it very difficult to calibrate it. Alright, I think if we strip this back and put it in, solder those wires on, we can power up the Raspberry Pi. Now that Raspberry Pi may not boot because I haven't got an SD card in it. Or I have. There is one in there. What I have done though is mounted it upside down. But that's not a major drama, I can fix that. Well, that's interesting. It's not centered. Okay, so that appears to be working. We're getting our 5 volts. I'm running this off 6.9 volts. I can crank this up to 15 volts, and at 15 volts it's drawing 0.311 amps. So very little power from the power supply, thanks to the magic of the switch mode power supply. So I'm going to call that quits for now. I've still got to come up with what I'm going to use for my program on this screen as well as in the head. I've got most of a basic program in place. However, I do want to modify the one for the Fred's head, which is a Raspberry Pi 4, to run the camera service. There is a Raspberry Pi camera located in one of his eyes, so I want to do the eye tracking alike from there and run all the servos potentially from this one. In order to run all the servos from this one, I do have to break out the I2C bus and bring that over and feed back from here. So that is something I'll do in another video. To see when that video comes out, don't forget to click on subscribe, ring that notification bell. If you like these videos, click on the like button. There is a link to a Discord server where we can talk about other things that come up with this, and you can always support my efforts in this in Patreon. So we'll see you in the next video.